We are live. Week 12 NFL preview. Thanksgiving right around the corner. Marcus, how we doing?
I'm doing great. I am doing really well. Excited for today's show. I keep saying this, but I really do look forward to this every week. So it's just a great way to end the week.
It is.
So yeah, happy to be here. Let's we got some good games to talk about here this week.
We do. Where do you want to start?
How about Colts Chiefs? Decent game, I would say. It's just not bury the lead here. Let's get into one of the bangers of the week. So this game's just huge for both teams. Obviously, that goes without saying. But for the Chiefs, like, I was originally going to come into this and be like, oh my God, they have to win. If they lose, their season's over. They're cooked. But it's actually not necessarily the case. I think they can afford to lose 2 more games this season, if you're being realistic about it. But that doesn't mean this isn't an absolutely massive game. They still have at Dallas, Houston, the Chargers, and the Broncos all still on the schedule. None of those are going to be given with how the Chiefs are playing right now, which they're just a very beatable team. Honestly, I don't think they're that different from last year's team. It's just they're not winning the close games that they were last year. So there's a lot to get into with this one. I think on the other side, you got to talk about the Colts too. Obviously, like, this is a major prove it game for them. They are 8-2, but they just haven't really had those big statement wins. They had a week 2 win against Denver by 1 point. That was awesome. But we're a long way removed from that. Their other wins have come against Miami, Tennessee twice, the Raiders. They escaped against the Cardinals. They beat the Chargers when they were at their very worst, like in that stretch when the Chargers lost to the Giants and got blown out by the Commanders. That game was right in that stretch when they were really beat up. And then they just beat the Falcons in overtime. So it's not that the Colts are bad for that. It's just we don't know if they're great for that. This is an actual opportunity to see them go into Arrowhead and be like, yeah, you got to take us seriously as a Super Bowl contender. So I'm really excited to see how they hang in this game in what's going to be an absolute playoff environment because of what I said, because of how much this game means for the Chiefs. You texted me this, and I had been thinking the same exact thing. Daniel Jones, 9 turnover-worthy plays in the last 2 weeks. He has got to clean that up if this is going to, continue for the Colts. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's got 4 mistakes through the air that have been charted as turnover worthy and 5 fumbles, which goes back to one of the biggest issues on Daniel Jones over the years is taking sacks, strip sacks, costly turnovers and stuff. You look like you have something you need to say. Is something up?
No, I'm just
okay.
I'm just,
you've been typing. Ready. You're doing ready. This.
No, I go back and forth with my chat.
Is my mic screwed up?
No, I do have one thing. I do have one thing. I did have a super chat. They just wanted me to ask that they said they forgot, and they just wanted to ask who's on top of the NFC North. But that's
okay. We'll get there. We'll get there. But yeah, Daniel Jones has got to, play the clean, good football that he played earlier in the year. I mean, the Colts rather are really going for this thing. They traded 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner. I think that indicates that they're prepared to extend Daniel Jones and make him the guy, because if you're giving up multiple first-round picks, you're obviously not going to be looking at the draft in that sense. I mean, maybe Anthony Richardson still becomes an answer for them at some point, but you just don't want to see Daniel Jones continue to cough the football up like this and put this team in compromising situations. So I'm really curious to see how he plays, if the Chiefs on their side of things can do enough to make him uncomfortable. I think the Chiefs pass defense has been very mid, literally the definition of mid this year. There's weeks where Chris Jones shows up, and then there's weeks where teams are either able to take him away, or he actually hasn't been as dominant this year from game to game as we've gotten used to with Chris Jones. And when he's not getting after it up front, I mean, George Karlaftis feels like he has the most empty 50 pressure season I've ever seen. He's 6th in the NFL in pressures. I swear to God, I watch the Chiefs and I don't feel George Karlaftis' presence hardly at all, especially when they need him to win. It feels like he can't get you that critical sack or pressure when you really need it. So I'm curious if the Chiefs defense can do enough to make Daniel Jones uncomfortable, compress the pocket and that kind of stuff where you can get those mistakes. I think that's the best path for the Chiefs to win this game, is going to be to stop the run, Go out there with 3 linebackers, big Leo Chanel game, hopefully, if you're a Chiefs fan. Limit Jonathan Taylor, and then you're not going to stop this Colts passing game, but we have seen in some of their moments in recent weeks, if you can force some turnovers and then get against a Colts defense that isn't great, that's going to be your pathway to winning this game. So I do think it's doable for the Chiefs. I just want to talk a little bit about the other side of the ball real quick. This is a big moment for Lou Anarumo. He is very familiar with this defense. He has schemed playoff types of performances against this defense before. Kind of infamously, the one team that's been able to get the Chiefs in big games was the Bengals, and Lou Anarumo's ability to kind of out-scheme Andy Reid, frankly, was a big part of that. So I'm curious to see if we can get that from the Colts' perspective. A defense that I really just don't trust, especially with DeForest Buckner out. But you got the Lou Anarumo factor. Charvarius Ward should be back this week. It's a bit of a revenge game type of deal for him. I don't think he's really mad at the Chiefs, but it's always fun to play your old team. And then Sauce Gardner. So you have the first look really at this potential best cornerback duo in the league, frankly. Really excited to see what that all can look like here. And then for the Chiefs offense, Mahomes, number one, just has to play better. There's no way around it. He keeps missing deep throws. He's got 17 big-time throws to 16 turnover-worthy plays this season. He has not played like an elite quarterback this year. And I think between him and Andy Reid, look, Andy Reid's a Hall of Fame coach, all that. They've got some offensive identity issues right now. They've constructed this group with 3 vertical threats at wide receiver, and then Rashee Rice does all his underneath stuff. There's really no in between there. They continue to refuse to run the football. I don't know if that's ever going to change at this point. That's always been a criticism, even though they have like the best interior trio on the offensive line in the league. I was looking at it. You know who was actually a pretty decent impact for this team last year was Noah Gray. Quiet, but like he made an impact in 12 personnel when they would come out in heavy personnel. And there's been so much talk about that this year being a great way to, scheme up some offense. They're still 5th in the NFL in 12 personnel in Kansas City. So it's not that they've gone away from those packages, but Noah Gray, I forgot to write it down, but he has like no receptions this year. He's like 12 receptions or something, like very minimal compared to like last year. He ended up with like 500 total yards and actually was a decent piece in that kind of intermediate schemed up early down offense that actually was kind of underrated, and they've just gotten away from it now that they've got all these other playmakers out there. So I would love to see them attack this front a little bit more, especially because you're going against this great secondary in Indianapolis. Hopefully, load up the box a little bit more, attack these linebackers, get Noah Gray involved. I think there's a lot of changes that Andy Reid and Mahomes could make to find a better balance between the vertical stuff that they've leaned really far into, attacking the short to intermediate game, and running the football. So big game.
I'm with you. And within this, I would argue this is a must-win game for both sides, KC for obvious reasons. But there was one thing last week that not that you didn't talk about, but one thing that I want to highlight, that I want to see the Chiefs attack, is the fact that last week they had 3 under center runs throughout the entire game. One went for 5 yards, 7 yards, and 11 yards. Obviously, you're not going to average 7.8 yards per carry for, a 300 carry sample size across the season, but no defo in this game. The Chiefs have obviously spent a ton of money on the interior offensive line over the past couple of years. I want to see them, go after it. And there was a stat that I saw on Twitter today about how the Chiefs are like top 2 or 3 in the NFL when they run under center, and they're 29th when they run out of shotgun. There's been some Chiefs fans that have been vocal this past week. I don't know if it was just me seeing the only like negative tweets that you see where it doesn't really represent how the fan base feels, but it was the ones that unfortunately, like the tweets that get really big that probably shouldn't. But there were people like legitimately calling for Andy Reid's job. Anyway, but what they were, and then when I questioned like why why you've had the success you've had, you're 5-5, like it's not the end of the world. I was told that I need to watch the games. So that was just a classic Twitter interaction.
You should
there.
Have you considered it? Have you considered watching the games?
I should probably not just box score watch.
I find it helpful.
I
do recommend it.
Just a suggestion. But anyway, I want to see the Chiefs attack under center more. And Indy, this is a game where, look, the Texans last night. They won. The Texans play the Colts still. The Jags still play the Colts. Indy's, I mean, all I'm saying is the opportunity for them to get the 1 seed as much as below the division lead is there. You can't slip up. I mean, this is Casey's favored by 3.5. I feel like I would still choose the Chiefs, although I completely agree with what you're saying about Chris Jones with how he is. There's times where you said, game to game. Honestly, I feel like it's more play to play where there's times where it's just like, hey, we're going to, if you remember the old Madden where you have to like tap the 40-yard dash like 100 times, I feel like Chris Jones is either doing that every single play or he's just like, you know what, like I'm just nothing, no in between. So I'm still going to go with the Chiefs to win this game. I hope they figure out the run game a little bit, run a little more under center. I want to see that. I don't feel confident in this game at all, but I'm going to go Chiefs 27-24.
And I still have to make my pick. I had one other note on Chris Jones too, because I think like obviously the ability to slow down Jonathan Taylor is going to be a huge deal for the Chiefs. Say whatever you want about PFF grades, but Chris Jones, not just as a pass rushing angle, he has for the first time in his career a run defense grade below 60, and it's at a 39.7 in the red there. He's got to step up in both phases, and he's 31 years old. Like, he might just be regressing, but that's how they've built this defense. It's like they need Chris Jones to be a defensive player of the year type of guy, and he just hasn't been able to make that impact this year. And I think you're feeling it with a slight step back for this defense. So it's kind of unfair to put all that pressure on Chris Jones. Like, he has to be the guy to step up, but I don't know who else you're really pointing to do that. So,
right.
I am going to pick the Chiefs. I am. I think at home is a big deal here. It really comes down to Mahomes against this defense and this pass rush. I like the corners coming back, but I think Mahomes is going to be able to find answers as this one goes on. I think it's going to be a higher scoring game. I think it's going to be like 30-27.
Okay.
Chiefs.
All right. We got to go to my state. I mean, yeah, I've seen a lot of comments. We got Jets, Ravens.
You're looking fly. It's a shame for anybody listening to just the audio version.
I appreciate
of this. They're missing out. They're missing out.
I did have one super chat. It's very fitting because I mean, we all make the jokes about the white receivers in the draft process, but I did have a super chat that said Garrett looking like he's going to have my daughter back by 9 #respectful gentleman, which I thought was a hilarious super chat. But within this game, you did mention the revenge game with, Travarius Ward or, going back to play the Chiefs, that we have a revenge game here. We have 2 big revenge games. We have Tyrod Taylor, obviously, over a decade ago with the Ravens. And then, of course, we have Brandon Stevens. Now, Brandon Stevens is a controversial figure in Ravens lore /
yes.
Fan base, because I obviously live in the area. Obviously, I hear all about it all the time. And then, of course, you watch the games on top of it. I have several friends that basically said, I'm glad that Brandon Stevens is gone because whenever we give up a 20-plus yard passing play, I no longer have to look up to see who gave up the 20-yard passing play because I knew who it was going to be. So within this game, I have, can Adonai Mitchell catch a ball? Obviously, he does all the things right. He gets off the line well. He's a really good route runner. He gets open. He kind of forgets to do the most important part of his job to, actually stick around in the NFL. That's going to be one big thing that I watch throughout the course of the 2025 season. I have how will the offense look, because they only have one game above 250 yards in the last 5, which was against the Bengals defense. So, I mean, obviously it's an NFL team, but I think there's a little bit of a difference between the Bengals and the Ravens defense. And I very much worry about this. Although I think there will be more competent quarterback play, as Justin Fields over under passing yards line last week was 136.5 yards. And that is one of the lowest you'll see and on any prop. That is one of the lowest you'll see. Now within this, obviously you're going to want to try to get Breece Hall going to try to keep Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry off the field as much as you possibly can. I will be eager to see the Jets offensive line go against the Ravens defense, especially because they don't have Nnamdi Madubuike and they haven't had him for most of the 2025 season. So that's definitely, or maybe all of the 25 season. I know he got injured early, but that's going to be something to pay attention to within this game, because the Ravens last week, they beat the Browns 23-16. And, you never want to scoff at a win, especially, a division win. I don't care if it's the Browns that started Shedeur Sanders or that with Shedeur that came in. You never want to scoff at a division win, right? But 6-5 is there. they play the Bengals next Thursday, and the Ravens did not look good last week. I think this in a lot of ways is a bounce back win or a bounce back opportunity. They're 13-point favorites for a reason. That is borderline college level in terms of the spread. Obviously, I am going to pick the Ravens to win this game, but I think the Jets can cover. I really do, especially with more competent play from Tyrod Taylor rather than look at one read and then do what Justin Fields does, which is look for one read and then immediately take off and sprint if nothing is there. And I do have one super chat within this. It's from Edward. He's a Ravens fan. He said, really need to start talking about how not good the O-line is and red zone offenses. And that goes back to last week because the Ravens, once Shador got in, and that's a 10-minute conversation, but it was not a game outside of one pass that Shador had across the middle, but the Ravens offense did not look great last week. They had an interception in the red zone. It was a batted ball that was up in the air, but I want to see more efficiency for the Ravens in this game. But because of the inefficiencies they've had, I think the Jets cover. I think the final will be something like 24-14, 27-17, somewhere in there. I still think the Jets cover, but obviously I think we all think the Ravens win.
I would have to lean Ravens in one of their blowout wins, I think, in this one. I love Tyrod, but I think this offense is just so badly feeling the Garrett Wilson injury. You need like John Mechie or Adonai Mitchell to really have a good day, and it's just hard to count on that. I agree though. The Ravens are not perfect, so should be right around that spread. If I had to pick it, I would think the Ravens. I think they can put up a good amount of points in this one for sure.
John Mechie,
all right.
By the way, a little quick before we transition, John Mechie also went to high school in Maryland, so Maryland's finest. That's all.
All right.
Just keep
representing. All right, let's go to Cincinnati. Patriots, Bengals. Have we gotten any update in the last 3 hours on Burrow?
I don't know, but that was we're on to Cincinnati reference there. That we're anyway. Let me take a look right now. Chat, do we know?
Yeah, because that was
the last I saw. He was questionable. That was the last I saw.
I know he's like practiced in full the last 2 weeks.
Questionable.
But yeah, I don't think we have a solid answer. So it does make this one a little bit harder to talk about. Obviously, I mean, Flacco's played well. And ultimately, like, I don't know if it makes Burrow coming back. I don't know how much of a huge difference he can realistically make for the team at large, just because this defense, it's such a joke. And against this Patriots machine that's only getting healthier, getting Ramondre Stevenson back, getting Keyshawn Boutte, who's been very underrated, getting him back into the mix here. Like, I mean, the Bengals, when they've been competitive with Flacco, it's been 38-41. So I don't know how much that fully changes with Burrow. I think there's a ball control aspect that you can count on a little bit more with Burrow that can maybe help the defense, but it's just so lost on that side of the ball that it's like, feels pretty grim to even talk about. But yeah, I mean, you're really counting on if the Bengals have a chance at winning this game, you are banking. What's up?
No Jamar Chase. No, because of Spitgate. Because of Spitgate.
Yep. I got that one in my notes. But yeah, if the Bengals have a chance, you're literally counting on just a amazing moment from Joe Burrow. Honestly, probably rushing back, knowing, okay, you just look at that record, 3-7. You fall down one more, you get to 3-8. Like, even if you win out, 9-8 probably doesn't get you in. I have a feeling Burrow's like, at least let me go this week. Like, let me give it a try. I don't know if he's going to be able to move around, Like, we have no idea what he's going to look like, even if he does play. But that's your only shot, right? Like, this Bengals team is truly horrible right now. Trey Hendrickson, I don't think he's going to play either. Like, I feel like with that back injury, he's like, look, you guys didn't pay me. Why the hell would I go out with a back injury and miss out on $140 million career earnings for a 3-7 football team? Like, F that. Like, I'm not playing. I'm just speculating, but
blame him.
That's what I would do. Be like, you guys chose not to pay me. Like,
after round and found out.
I'll skip my game check this week and I'll cash in $140 million and not ruin my career right now. Especially with a back injury. So the Bengals are just a disaster. I do think, like, Milton Williams is out for the Patriots. That's he went ahead to IR. So, like, theoretically, the Bengals are worse up the middle with their offensive line. I mean, you're really searching for any reason to say Joe Burrow could have a miracle day again without Jamar Chase. I will say this. If it does happen, Mitchell Tinsley legacy game, calling it right here with him getting some more opportunities with Jamar Chase out. But I saw this spread at 6.5 this morning, and I jumped on that. I'll be honest. Whether Burrow plays or not, I would take the Patriots. But if Burrow doesn't play, that's even better. So I think the Patriots roll. They're just an absolute machine. They've been one of the more consistent, dependable teams. I think the coaching, the play of the quarterback all ties back to that. And it's hard for me not to pick the Patriots to win this one 34-24. So.
Yeah, I'm with you. And for me, I mean, you look at this, right? The Bengals have allowed 500 yards 3 times this year. They have, I mean, right?
Just passing or total?
What's up?
Is it just passing or total yards?
Total. I mean, the thing is, I'm not even trying to be funny. I'm just I mean, this is just a horrendous unit all around. They've allowed no less than 27 points since week 2. Good luck. No Jamar Chase. That was a $500,000 loogie, by the way. So that summarized the Bengals season. Did you
see Mike Renner's take on that?
No, what did he say?
He said we should if you get a suspension or a fine for
I did see this.
Like a personal foul or something like that, your game check should go to the victim, the victimized player. I did see that. So in this case, Jalen Ramsey would probably get, I mean, Jesus, what's a game check for Jamar Chase?
No, 500. 500. Yeah.
Is that all? I mean, I would think.
So I know if you do the 160 million divided by 68 games, it would be way more than 500,000. But what Sports Center and all the other ones tweeted out was that he lost 500K.
Okay.
But I get what you're saying though with the division so
it's possible his base salary is pretty low because he's still technically on that rookie contract. So but yeah, I love that as an idea. That would probably get rid of personal fouls if you have to give the other person.
Imagine just going up to somebody and just giving them the old cartoon, why I oughta, you know what I mean? One of those.
Because I've always wondered, where does that money go anyway? Do we just assume that the NFL is giving it to charity? Does it go to the revenue sharing pot? Where does that money go?
MetLife Stadium's grass and implement grass. But anyway, speaking of MetLife, that was actually a pat on the back. Giants Lions is up. I did not intend to do that. Although nice. if you thought I did, then I'll take the credit for it. But that was not intentional.
Just take credit. You're a professional.
I appreciate it. Giants, Lions. Look, we have Jameis starting. That's what I'm going to go off of. We have Jameis starting. The fired coach bump last week. I do believe in that for teams that you can cover a couple of points, maybe win a game you probably shouldn't. With the fired head coach, they still lost by 7, and obviously. Well, you're a Packers fan, I mean, I know you were at the Bears-Vikings game, but I know you went back and rewatched it. The Giants should have lost by more last week, if we're being completely honest. They're 2-9 for a reason, and the Lions have not lost back-to-back games in 3 years. I don't think they're going to lose at home in what is a lot of ways a must-win game because of their playoff chances and the fact that, they're going to play on Thanksgiving as well. They know that they got to take care of business. Dan Campbell teams are generally more of, they're way more prepared than other teams. There's a reason they've had the success they've had within this. This could be a game. I will say this, that Shane Bowen could be fired after, just because the Lions put up 9 points last week in Philly. They weren't capitalizing. Goff was 1 of 13 under pressure. That's going to be something to pay attention to within the game. A game within the game is the Giants pass rush being able to get after Jared Goff and how Jared Goff responds to how he played last week. But I really think that the Lions are going to roll in this game. And last week, I was, 2 weeks ago, I called the Bills Dolphins under 49.5. Last week, I was really confident of the Chargers spread against the Jags. Was really, really wrong on that one. But I really like the Lions 10.5 here. I think they roll. I think this is a get Jahmyr Gibbs going game. And I think this is a chance that the Lions are up by at least 10.5. I would say there's a chance they're up 2 touchdowns at half. I like the Lions to roll in this game quite a bit.
Yeah, I think you gotta lean into the Lions. I mean, talk about the Patriots being dependable. I don't think there's been a thing more dependable than the Lions just beating the crap out of whoever they play off of a loss, especially like you said, like at home. They're not gonna let their fans down 3 days before that big Thanksgiving game. They're gonna be prepared. And I think, the Giants last week, there was probably a little bit of the head coach bump, the head coach fired bump for the Giants. They actually did come out and like the opening drive touchdown, jammed it right up the Packers' throat. I didn't know if that was necessarily going to happen with Brian Dable, but it's going to be hard to recreate that here in Detroit. And just schematic or just matchup wise, like the Packers are at their literally their thinnest. They're an undersized interior D line. That was the Giants' approach, was just to kind of smash it up the middle. Devin Singletary, like 6 yards a pop to keep the Packers offense off the field. Lions aren't going to have that. They have like 3 legit nose tackles that will shut that down, if not 4 with the way Roy Lopez is playing this year. So I think you got to go Lions. Not to mention the Giants are the worst run defense in the league. Jahmyr Gibbs should be running rampant. I like anything Jahmyr Gibbs for your daily lineups in this one. The Giants give up a lot of big plays to explosive players. So, yep, got to go Lions for sure in this one. I just checked. I've seen it up to 13 on the spread. So this seems to be rising as the week goes on.
I also want to say one thing just real quick off of this. This is the last thing. The Lions, I mean, obviously last week was their 4th loss, but in the 3 games that they have lost this year, their victory margins the ensuing weeks were 31 points, 15 points, and that was against the Bucs, who are going to be a playoff team, I would like to think, and then 22 points. So this is a team that you punch them in the mouth, they are coming back with everything they have. Yeah, I love the Lions this week.
They're like a pinball machine. It just shoots it right back in the other direction. All right. That was your game, right? Yep. Okay, let's go Steelers Bears here. This is a fun one. And I'm realizing like I got to be more careful about when I talk about the Bears, because I really have like come off as a hater the last couple weeks, and I fully realize that it's not like intentional. I do like the Bears. I picked them to make the playoffs. I love Ben Johnson. I love Caleb Williams. I just want to get that out there for Bears fans. But I have poked some fun at them being the team this year that's had this Mickey Mouse schedule. They still haven't beaten a team with a winning record, but they did go into Minnesota and won a game that was their best win on the year. I'm not going to go as far as saying it was like an overly impressive win. It was a solid win, their best win on the season. So they're checking more boxes as the season goes on. And this is another big test against the Steelers that have been a bit of a punching bag for NFL fans. I think the Rodgers of it all, the Steelers of it all, like this team has been perennially mid and all that. But what they have kind of quietly done in the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season is completely fix this defense. And even when they got kind of embarrassed by the Chargers on that Sunday night game, the defense still played well. It took some really good throws from Herbert to Ladd McConkey, a great connection to really start moving the ball in that one. They have had some dominant games as a run defense in recent weeks against Jonathan Taylor, against Josh Jacobs. They have really just settled down and been the Steelers defense that you really could have expected. And then you add on top of that, you have the Aaron Rodgers at Soldier Field factor here. Do you know off the top of your head Aaron Rodgers' record in Soldier Field in his career?
I'm going to say, how many games has he played?
It's 15 games.
I'm going to say 13-2.
Very close. 12-3.
12-3. Okay.
Yep. 12-3. 25-5 all-time record against the Chicago Bears. And I think Rodgers is going to be in pain in this game. I'm not even entirely ruling it out that he plays this game and then shuts it down for the rest of the year with a broken wrist. I don't think that's actually going to happen, but I do think he's very motivated to play this game. I think he wants to get another I still own you in there. So I think there's a bit of an it factor going on when he's in that stadium. And I loved his comments about it. I retweeted it if you guys want to check it out on my Twitter feed. But I think the Steelers are going to play well in this game. I do. I think the Bears offense, they've been at their best with the run game and the early down play action working. I think Caleb's been awesome on play action. But like I said, the Steelers have really done a good job shutting that stuff down. I think the move from Jalen Ramsey to safety has meant everything for this defense. But if you watch them earlier in the year, it felt like this vacant hole in the middle of the field. Also, Kyle Duggar had a pick last week too. So they haven't just patched up that safety room. They've legitimately added star talent into that group. And then they've kind of filled in at corner around that. You've still got Joey Porter, Darius Slay's on the roster. I don't think he's been playing recent weeks. I think he's hurt, but I could be wrong about that. But you've got Asante Samuel Jr. in there now. We've seen some of Brandon Echols. Like they still have pieces that can play. James Pierre, like he's played a million snaps for them. So like they have other corners that can step up. They've kind of still had a floor at corner and then really improved at safety. So what I'm trying to say here is I think Caleb is going to have to beat Pittsburgh through the air in this game. And he's making improvements and absolutely deserves credit for that, but he's still far from perfect. I think we saw some more overthrows this week against Minnesota. I think Pittsburgh is very opportunistic to capitalize on overthrows. You know, guys like Jalen Ramsey and these D-backs are going to be aware of that and, you know, trying to lurk over the top and get these picks. And I think the pass rush, like Caleb keeps getting out of these sacks. I think Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt are going to have a chance at really getting after him. And those are really athletic edge rushers. I don't know if Caleb's going to be able to have these big play extensions where he gets out of these sacks, kind of making the offensive line right. You know, they haven't been pass protecting great lately. So I think it's a huge test for this Bears offense. I think they're capable. Like they've had some really good moments, but there's a lot of reasons to think that the Steelers are going to come into Chicago and have a good day. On the other side of things, the Bears defense is playing better. They continue to get like 2 interceptions every week. Maybe they can do that again. The analytics would tell you that's going to regress back at some point. And generally speaking, Rodgers and this offense have taken good care of the football. What they did with Darnell Washington last week was so fun to watch. Did you watch that game?
Oh, of course. 311 pounds on the St. Brown pod.
Yeah. Yeah. The least surprising news ever. Like that guy has clearly been playing over 300. But he's so fun. It was a great game from him. So yeah, the Bears defense, I don't think is great on paper, but they're playing better as of late. So it should be a battle. I'm going to pick the Steelers this week. I know I set this all up by saying I'm trying not to be a Bears hater, but this is my honest opinion. I think it's going to be a tough test for Chicago. I think Pittsburgh has a lot of matchup advantages in this one. And I'm curious what you would think about betting on the Steelers this week as an underdog, because it's possible I'm a little close to this with Rodgers playing in Chicago, but I'm curious what you would think about making this one of the bets this week.
So I'm going to be honest. The first thing that I would say is if anybody says they know anything about this game, like they know it's going to go one way, they're lying. This is one of the most 50-50 games of the entire season. However, I do have one super chat. It's from a Bears fan. They wanted me to ask if, since you haven't been the most impressed with the Bears, if they needed to beat elite teams such as the Browns or Panthers. That was their question from a Bears fan.
I love how it always comes back to the Packers too. Like, there's 30 teams in the NFL, right? Like, yeah, the Packers have some issues too. That doesn't mean we can't talk about the Bears fairly.
But I will say this. This is, I mean, you could legitimately convince me either way. If somebody pulled me aside, called me for 5 minutes after the stream and said, hey, like, this is why I think they're going to win, I would say, you know what? I can understand that. I can understand both sides. But where I'm going to lean with this is an Aaron Rodgers game. This is an Aaron Rodgers. He wants to stick it to the Bears one last time. I would love for him to have a rushing touchdown in the fourth quarter where everybody's flicking him off, and he's just, screaming at the fans like he was a couple years ago. I'm going with the Steelers on the road. Steelers dogs against a team that's 7-3, but this would be a very Pittsburgh Steelers win and Mike Tomlin win in the sense of we are going into a division leading, on the road as underdogs. We're not expected to win, but we can very easily pull this out. Also, the Aaron Rodgers part within this. I really love what you said about the Steelers secondary, and I think their secondary to me is at least a little underappreciated nationally. I don't think it's talked about as much as it should be within the whole Steelers kind of media breakdown that you see on a week-to-week basis. But I'm going to go with the Steelers. I think it's going to be something like 23-20.
Yeah, cool. All right.
Seattle, Tennessee. You ready for
it? I think the game's over already. It just started and it's done. It's the South Park bank.
Respect
bank
Cam Ward. We
we
are Cam Ward respecters. Cam Ward is we respect where Cam Ward is. Look, Cam Ward, the one play that he had last week, just chef's kiss. He was getting drilled by Danielle Hunter. And by the way, we saw the Texans pass rush last night. So I don't want to hear that it was the Titans were down in the fourth quarter. Cam Ward is getting drilled. He throws a 40-yard bomb to Chikakonkwo, drops it in a bucket. I like what I'm seeing from Cam Ward. I think the Titans have their guy. If I had, a drastic scenario, hey, you have to choose the next 3 years if he's the guy, yes or no, I would say yes. I like Cam Ward a lot. Can't say I like a lot else about the roster or the coaching staff or the organization. But what I wrote down, the first thing that I wrote down was David versus Goliath. I also wrote down that Sam, of course, had 4 interceptions last week. Big bounce back opportunity, especially against a very bad team. Cam Ward is playing, in my opinion, a lot better than the stats will tell you. He has 6 touchdowns to 6 picks on the year. He's playing a lot better than again, the numbers would suggest. The splash plays are there, and I think there's legit reason to buy in with Cam Ward moving forward. The Titans, they're the worst team in the NFL for a reason. I don't think I'm going to pick them to win a game the rest of the season. They have a minus 130 point difference through 10 games. I also wrote this down at the end, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful here, but can you name one thing this team does well? And that's
the Titans.
Yes, that's
interior D-line.
But it's just there's such a. I mean, Cam Ward is Cam Ward. We got Cam Ward, but Seattle, tough loss last week. I mean, you got to take care of business here. It's simple as that. The spread is what it is for a reason. You are quite literally expected to win by 2 touchdowns. Take care of business. Don't, this is by every definition. I'm sorry, Titans fans, because I love Cam Ward. Again, I think you have your quarterback of the future, but this is for Seattle very much a do not play with your food type game.
Yeah. I really like a Seattle Lions teaser this week.
Yeah, I can get
those down a little bit.
Yep.
I do think Tennessee can muddy this up a little bit. You asked, what do they do well? I do think their interior D line might be. I mean, it's like them in Dallas right now.
Yeah, I like that
for who the best interior D line is, and I do think, Seattle. If you're going to slow them down, I think getting pressure up the middle and making Darnold uncomfortable against a shaky interior line. That's how you would do it. Jeffrey Simmons did miss a chunk of games in there. Tavondre Sweat did miss a chunk of games in there. They have that group healthy right now. At least they did last week. So if you're going to have some success defensively, it's probably where it's going to come from. It's wild though, because while they have this incredible interior D line, they still aren't great as a run defense and they still can't stop the pass. So it's like, yeah, they have a good unit. It doesn't mean they're good at the whole side of the ball, but I don't fully agree with the Cam Ward stuff. I think there were some overthrows this week, and that I agree with the sentiment that right. I still think he's going to be the guy. I still think he's going to get there. Number one, there were some overthrows last week that was just like, you got to hit those throws. There was 4 or 5 of them, but the amount of just miscommunications and penalties on 3rd and 1s and just the amount of moments in that game against the Texans where it's just this team is just such a disaster. Right. Nobody's on the same page. They don't know the snap count. They don't know where the receivers don't know where they're supposed to be on certain plays. It's just they are so far and away from being a competent NFL team that, you got to go Seahawks in this one.
This is a team that, by the way, lost by double digits to the Raiders.
Yeah.
Again, I'm sorry, yeah. Titans fans. I really am sorry, but I mean, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. And I definitely I didn't even really mention Seattle much there at all, but I do think coming off of last week, they were really close. They still played well in a day that Darnold, at least right now, we can say it was an uncharacteristic performance, at least from this season of Sam Darnold. So I think he can get back on track and Seahawks roll here.
All
right. Let's go to New Orleans for Falcons Saints. There's the graphic. The Saints are favored in this game. So there's that. That's got to be the first time this year the Saints are favored, right? They might have been favored against the Giants when they played them, but I'm excited to see more Tyler Shuck against a Falcons defense that just doesn't scare me. They have been better against the pass than they have been against the run, but Shuck was really good against the Panthers a couple weeks ago. So just like I will continue to say, like, the way he extends plays, the way he can push the ball downfield, that deep ball to Olave was just beautiful, dude. The way he laid it out there. I know people are like, oh, but JC Horn fell down. That actually happens like a decent amount when you have a perfectly thrown deep ball like that. You just don't see perfectly thrown deep balls 60 yards down the field like that. Corners play it that way for a reason, especially physical ones like that. JC Horn's not expecting that ball to just keep carrying and carrying and carrying. He loses his feet because of the technique he played it with. So like you got that, you got the play extension. I think he looked like he's taken his time as a backup well and kind of understands the offense. I like him with Kellen Moore as a play caller, the offensive line. Like they're starting to build some things up here. So I can loosely understand why the Saints would be favored in this one. Atlanta's still a far superior, more talented team. You still have to deal with Bijan Robinson in this run game. It is going to come down to Kirk Cousins, though, right? Like, this will be interesting. He has an opportunity here basically to show the league and show fans that he can still play, like at a bare minimum. I mean, he's been so bad. It just like running the offense. Like you would think, at least if Kirk Cousins steps in, he's going to be on the same page with Darnell Mooney, and like there's not going to be miscommunications. And you know, he's looked like a bad backup that steps in and doesn't know the offense. It's not even just the lack of physical talent there. So he's just looked horrible. But he's got an opportunity now, probably as the team starter, like the rest of the year. I know there's been some different. I just did I hate the 6-7 thing. Can I just say, because I do this and I say 6-7 a lot, and then now I like catch myself doing it, and I'm like, I hate this. I need to just detach it. But anyway, I'm curious if this goes to Kirk Cousins like this offseason. If he keeps playing like this, do we end up with a standoff of the Falcons want to release him, or no, the Falcons want him to retire, because I don't think it would be as big of a cap hit potentially if he retires. Right. I think he probably forfeits a lot of money.
That's not going to happen.
But Kirk Cousins like saying, why would I retire? I know you're going to release me, and then I get that money. So do you get this kind of standoff?
I do.
It could be interesting. But I think I will go with the Saints to win this one. I think they have the better quarterback in this game with Tyler Shuck. So there you have it. I did at least want to say for Atlanta, there's been a lot of interesting conversations this week with the kind of existential questions about their future and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So I wouldn't mind getting into it just briefly here. I think there's fascinating conversations about it, but I think it's actually a very clear decision if I'm in charge here. I would fire the coach. I just don't think DeMeco Ryans was really ever that great of a hire. And I know I praised him after like week 3, after some good defensive performances, and this team showed some life early, but that is obviously completely dissipated. I don't think his game management is good. I don't think there's much about him as a defensive schemer that can't be found elsewhere. Like, they've had offensive play calling questions scattered throughout the season. I just don't see the future with DeMeco Ryans as a head coach. I think he'd go back and be great. Do I keep saying DeMeco Ryans?
Yes.
I've done that before. Those two names get mixed in my head. But I love DeMeco Ryans. Please don't clip that. But I would fire Raheem Morris. I think especially the GM, Terry Fontenot, has got to go. There's been a couple draft picks this year that look okay, but at large, like they've just done a horrible job building this team. Really no growth with the offensive line, the lack of depth at wide receiver. It feels like they kind of, drafted Drake London and called it a day. Like, why? Obviously the way that the Kirk Cousins, Michael Penix situation has played out has been a complete disaster. So I do think Terry Fontenot, the GM, it's time to go in a different direction there. And then you don't have a first round pick anyway. So you go into next year, let Michael Penix compete. Maybe you bring in a Davis Mills or Shador or something along those lines, a Malik Willis, something else to kind of compete with Michael Penix, maybe get some starts earlier in the year, just kind of see where it goes. And then you can kind of retool this thing the right way relatively quickly, I think, if you get the right coach head into 2027 with some talent still on this team. But that's the easy route for me.
I agree. And I did a video yesterday. It was the 4 worst situations in football. I think Atlanta's very easily in there because you have a quarterback that's been injured. You have the Kirk situation. You don't have a first round pick. You're going to have a new regime that has no ties to Michael Penix. I'm with you. For this game specifically, I feel like I go with the Saints because when Kirk has played this year, it's been really bad. I mean, when you look at Kirk in 2023 pre-Achilles tear versus now, you would think that that's like you would think that that's a lot longer. I caught myself as well. You think that's a lot longer of a difference than 2 years. And I didn't do that intentionally, by the way. But I'm going to go with the Saints to win. There's been more promise from Tyler Shuck than what we've seen from Kirk this year. So I'm going to go with the Saints to win. I don't have much to add to that. I think Tyler Shuck is better at quarterback position right now than Kirk. And hope that we get to see Tyler Shuck in his extended audition, hopefully continue to, keep going with that and hopefully, extend into 2026. But that's exactly what this stretch of the season is an extended audition, extended tryout. And from a human being standpoint, I'm of course rooting for him and I hope he does well. All right. Browns Raiders. All right.
We're going through the dog days of week 12 here.
Browns Raiders. And then, so Browns Raiders, we have Shedeur Sanders' first career start. If we're being honest, Shedeur did not look good last week at all. He had the one good throw across the middle. That was it. He was 4 of 16. He was sacked several times. He looked extremely uncomfortable out there. It was not pretty. And within this, I could see this very easily being a 10-7 final because the Browns offense is not great. The Browns defense obviously is great. And the Raiders, one thing that I also put the Raiders in that video about the worst situations in football because of largely, the division and you look at the future outlook of the division. But when you look at the head coach turnover with this organization over the past couple of years, I'm not trying to be mean here. I'm just trying to be direct. I don't see any reason to bring Pete Carroll back because what has Pete Carroll done this year positively in any sense that, hey, this was a great decision. Hey, they did awesome here. And I don't know what the answer to that would be. So within I expect this to be very punt heavy, very turnover heavy. But then also within this for the Raiders, I don't know how much people were paying attention to this last week, but I noticed it throughout the game where, it's one thing if you're a bad team, whatever teams rebuild, it is what it is. It's another to show a complete lack of effort. And there were times where I thought the Raiders were making business decisions last week against the Cowboys, and excluding Max Crosby, of course, because he is one of one in that sense. But this is just a really poor organization, at least where the state is at this point. The Browns haven't had a quarterback in years. I mean, Baker was obviously the one, and then, everything that happened after that. I have no idea who I think is going to win this game. I feel like I would go with the Raiders, mainly because I don't know, man. I feel like it would be very Raiders to win a couple of games like this and get them out of the number 1, number 2 overall pick and finish with like the 6th pick, kind of like they did last year. And I'll just leave it at that. I feel like I go Raiders. Take it from here.
I got a bit of a take. Thinking about this one. Give me the Browns on an alternate spread to win this game by 10 or more points.
Okay.
Because they're underdogs. Give me like a little $10 bet to win like $60 this week on the Browns. I like that.
Good luck.
The Raiders offensive line has reached September Houston Texans level of egregious. You're going against Myles Garrett on a hot track to like still win defensive player of the year on a 3-win football team. He's been amazing. He's so good. I mean, I know that Colton Miller's been out all year unless he's back this week. And that would change my mind, I think. So I guess I didn't check the injury report, but I know he's been on IR. I haven't heard anything about him coming back. So fully expecting you get another backup left tackle week. I think you can run on the Raiders. I think that they're going to lean into that with Shedeur out there. And I don't know. I know Shedeur looked like crap last week, but I still think he can potentially surprise you, but I don't think he needs to in this game. I really think you could get defensive touchdowns and Quinshon Judkins and some play action boots that get lost. Yeah, I'll take the Browns to win this one actually pretty convincingly, really just because I think Geno, I don't know if he's going to make it through this game healthy, honestly. Like
That's
he's
fair.
already been kind of banged up.
Say it.
Like I think we get a big Browns D-line performance in this one, and that could be enough. So I'll go Cleveland. The Shedeur of it all, I just don't care. Like I have
one spicy take. One spicy take.
Okay.
And it is Quinshon Judkins anytime to score, and then alternate over under of under 22 total points, like 14-7 final. Just extreme.
Yeah, I could see it. Yeah. It's the Brock Bowers versus baby Brock Bowers matchup in this game. By the way, my Harold Fannin pro comp coming out was Brock Bowers with a ball and chain like attached to his ankle because he's not as fast. But other than that, I feel like he does pretty much the same stuff. All right, let's move on to some real football here. Eagles, Cowboys. I feel like you gave me most of the good games this week, so I appreciate that. This one's gonna be great. I think.
Player.
Like, what'd you say?
I said team player.
Team player. Dallas is down to just a 3.5 point underdog in this game. They're at home. They're coming off a big win. They've got a chance to make their season interesting. And I think they're up to 4-5-1, right?
Yes. The Monday night was not.
Yes. Yeah. The bye always throws everything for a loop. But yeah, a chance to get back to 500 at 5-5-1. In a game that I think is winnable. I think Philly is back to that state where they are technically beatable. Like, I don't think they're going to necessarily kill a lot of teams until they can figure the offense out. But I just don't know if that's going to happen at this point with all of the A.J. Brown stuff going on. We're getting so late in the season. I figured that would course correct at some point. It just hasn't. If anything, it's getting worse. Jalen Hurts is not playing well for the most part. He's had a couple good games this year, but for the most part, he's not playing well. He continues, he didn't have to do much against Detroit, but you go back to that Packers game and it's like, there's just so many moments where, I'll just call it like it is, watching that game as a Packers fan. And I know Mr. hates Jalen Hurts, but I was literally just watching that live with my friends. I'm like, thank God we're playing Jalen Hurts today. Cause he was missing throws. He had no answers. They're calling draws on third down. And I don't think the play calling is great, but anyway, Philadelphia is back to this. We're going to win games 17-14. We're going to dominate the line of scrimmage and ground this thing out. The one really nice thing about Hurts is he doesn't really turn the football over. So, that's kind of what they're going with. But if you've got Dak Prescott and these wide receivers, you're at home, you get the ball at last, maybe you can get a chance to win this game. I think it's going to come down to something like that. Really excited to see where this Cowboys defense is at. After all these additions at the bye week, they played the Raiders. They beat the crap out of that offensive line, and it's not a good offensive line for sure, but I think there's a lot of it is just those are good players on that Dallas D line. That interior trio is dangerous, man. It is. Quinnen Williams, we know he's one of the best in the league at his position. Osa Odigizua was dominant last week. You got Kenny Clark in there. Like, that's a freaking amazing third D tackle to have in there. Jadeveon Clowney's been really good for them. Donovan Ezeraku's been a great pick in the second round. Dallas continues to just be such an underrated drafting team. By the way, that front office gets some hate because of the Jerry Jones stuff, but they're one of the best drafting teams in the league. They've been that way for 10 years. So they've got a legit D line. That linebacker room was improved overnight. DeMarvion Overshown comes back, and Logan Wilson, he's struggling to move around right now, but at least he's a veteran that can do some stuff out there compared to what they were working with Kenneth Murray and some of those other linebackers to start the season. So the linebacker room was improved overnight. And then even the secondary, they got Hooker back in the safety room. He's a nice player. Both Siobhan Ravel came back and Kalen Carson, who was a 5th round corner that I really liked in the 2024 draft. Again, Dallas, good drafting team. Carson had a really bad rookie season, but he's been pretty solid this year in a couple of couple of games. He's got a lot of talent. Thought he was like a day 2 type of guy. So I'm just excited to see if we're talking about this Dallas defense just being outrageously improved in the second half of the year. They're not that far removed from being a very good defense, by the way. Just a couple of years ago, I think you also talk about Matt Eberflus has gotten a lot of crap, but a lot of defensive coordinators just need some time with the defense to kind of put the pieces in the right place, add some new talent, get some guys back healthy, you name it. So there's a world where Dallas's defense is just good now. Like they really have a bunch of pieces here. And if that's the case, I think they can keep the Eagles offense down. And I definitely think as good as the Eagles defense is playing right now, and, so much to get into that we've already talked about a million times with the Fangio defense and how talented that unit is. Don't want to sell that unit short. But it's going to be a great battle between Dallas's offense and that Eagles defense. So at the end of the day, I'm going to take the Cowboys to win this one at home to get to 5-5-1. It's not even that big of an upset. It's just a 3.5 point spread. I also think Lane Johnson being out against Dallas D line, it just adds more to the issues that the Eagles offense have had right now. So I think it's probably a lower scoring game. I think it's probably 20-17, something like that. But yeah, I'll go out on a limb. I'm going to take Dallas this week.
I do have a couple of Birds fans in the chat that are a little frustrated with the pick. I'm going to go with the Birds. I mean, look, you can say what you want about the Birds. They typically find a way to prevail somehow, some way. Although the Lane Johnson, I could very easily regret that in the first, couple of drives of the game. I'm still going to go with the Birds. Although the Cowboys defensive line is really, I mean, it's forming. It's forming. And Donovan Ezra was a player that I loved coming out of Boston College. And he's a guy that I think could take a huge step in 2026 and also towards the back half at the end of the 2025 season. I'm going to say that I think the Eagles win, but if the Cowboys do win, I think this is going to be a game where Donovan Ezra has his big welcome to the NFL moment. Like I'm talking 5-6 pressures, a sack and a half, maybe even a strip sack within this game. To me, he's the big X factor within this. I'm still going to go with the Birds to win. There's a lot of reasons not to, but there's a lot going on in the city of Philadelphia right now, but I'm still going to go with the Birds. They have the number 1 seed in play. And I also, I typically don't bet against the Birds. They win far more often than they don't. And it's because they're a really overall, I know there's some murky waters right now, but they're a well-run organization. They know how to win. I'm going to go with the Birds to win. And I completely acknowledge that there's a lot of reasons that you can very easily pick against them, most notably Lane Johnson being out and the general dysfunction within the offense, but I'm still going to go with the Birds, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, it's a big test for that Dallas run defense. I think with the improved player, like all the additions that they've made, like that's what it's going to come down to too. Like you gotta be able to slow down this Eagles run game. And they've had some stinkers. What did Rico Dowdle go for, like 300 against this team just a few months ago? So I don't have a ton of confidence in it, but I'll go Dallas.
All right. Jags Cardinals. You ready?
Jags Cardinals. I'm ready.
Jags Cardinals. Jags favored by 2.5. A couple things that I have in this. Jacksonville, I've had my doubts. I've had my, last week I said confidently I thought the Chargers were going to win. You shut me up. You won 35-6 at home. Major credit where it's due. But now that expectations are increased, what team is going to show up? What team are we going to get? Are we going to get the Jaguars? Are we going to get the Ocelots? Are we going to get the Kittens? What team are we going to get? And within this, the Jags, to me, they remind me of another cat team that is the Carolina Panthers, where, as soon as expectations are increased, they fall a lot more often than not. This is an opportunity for the Jags to win. Obviously, you won last week. You improved to 6-4. You can very easily win this game to improve to 7-4. And then you can very easily win next week against the Titans to go to 8-4 to enter that week 14 game against the Colts with, you still play the Colts twice. So you win this week, you win next week, you control your fate. The AFC South is in your hands. How will you respond? Now within this, aside from that part, I have Trayvon Walker was questionable earlier when I was taking notes. The Jags did a really good job last week of getting Bajal Tootin and Travis Etienne both going. They each had double-digit carries, each had 70-plus rushing yards. Was really, really good to see. And to me, that's also that's kind of a similar duo to Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously not on the same level, but with that, the thunder and lightning effect, if you will, with how fast Bajal Tutin is and with just how explosive he is as a player. This is an opportunity for the Jags to step up, especially with Marvin Harrison Jr. out, and especially with Jacoby Brissett being the team starting quarterback rather than Kyler Murray, apologies. So their second string quarterback. You have to win this game. If you are going to step up, you have to win this game. The Cards have also allowed 40 plus points in back-to-back weeks. For the Cardinals, I put one of my notes, unraveling question mark. Is this something where, you get beat 38-17 this weekend, you're 3-8, and then do you fire Jonathan Gannon, and then do you finish the year 4-13, and how does it go from here? To me, this is a game that the Jags, I'm not going to touch this game, because if you told me right now the Cardinals somehow miraculously pull this out, I wouldn't be surprised. But
right.
This. I'm sorry. Keep it simple. You have to step up and win this game.
I know. This has been such a crazy year for a lot of these teams where
100%.
You nailed it, like comparing them to the Panthers. I can't think of a reason not to bet the Jags, though, man. Like, I think you can run the ball. I don't trust Trevor drive to drive, but on the course of the game, I don't think it's going to be a complete disaster against this defense. The Cardinals offense is hard to trust. They are. I mean, I know that Jacoby broke the completion record, but it feels like the Niners. Yeah, but like it feels like the Niners just got up early and then just were playing, kind of shell prevent defense the whole time, just kind of allowing them to, happily allowing them to break the completion record. So yeah, Marvin Harrison is out. I'm trying to talk myself out of betting on the Jags because I know what's going to happen. What's going to happen. They're going to screw it up, and the Cardinals are going to win this game.
And the Cardinals have a lot of injuries, by the way. A ton of injuries.
Yeah. Jonah Williams just went on IR for the year.
This is a game the Jags have to win. I'm sorry. Like, there's times where I know, like, you see people on TV and talk about, oh, this guy's not top 10 or whatever. I try not to be like, real direct like that, whatever. This is a game they have to win. Like, you have to win this game.
Yeah, you don't always want it to be so black and white, but I agree. Right. I think you're spot on. So I'll back them. I'll take them to win. But I'm terrified for that. Okay. Speaking of the question, the unknown Carolina Panthers, we got Monday Night Football here, and then we're gonna finish up with our game, right?
I have Bucks Rams.
You got Bucks Rams, and then we got
our game. I would recommend sticking around for our game.
I mean, come on, Panthers. Just like you said, like, go do the thing. Hey, you're Ben Solo on the bridge, and it's you know what you have to do. Just do it. Don't come out and be the old Panthers, because they have had some really impressive games in recent weeks. They've lost to the Saints. They've gotten demolished by the Bills. The last month has been incredibly frustrating to try and know who the hell this team is. I absolutely think they have it in front of them to come out and kind of get over the hump in this one. Go beat a Niners team that you can make a strong argument that the Panthers are the more talented team than this beat up Niners team right now. Pound the football. This has been a very shaky Niners run defense this year. Not last week against the Cardinals, but the Cardinals can't really run the football right now with all their injuries and a bad O-line. I think Rico Dowdle can have a day. Get Chuba Hubbard back on track. I think Bryce Young played so well last week. There's not really a pass rush in your face in this game that the Niners just can't get after it. Feed T-Mac. They have it in them to do this. Will they do it? I have no freaking clue. I have no clue, because the Niners are dependable. They're a really well-coached team. They got Brock Purdy back last week. I think he kind of slammed the door shut pretty quickly on the Mac Jones QB controversy. I don't think it was like an amazing game or anything, but obviously the offense was running just fine. They got George Kittle going. He looks incredible this year. I think for the Panthers, it's not just the offense that has to step up. Their defense has been week to week somewhat. They've actually been largely solid defensively, but when they're bad, they are so bad. And I think that Bills game just a few weeks ago, like I look at George Kittle running over the middle of the field, Christian McCaffrey. There's a chance that those guys could give this Panthers defense fits, or like we saw kind of in the Dolphins game or this week, I think they did a pretty good job against Bijan and a relatively similar style of offense, shutting that stuff down. I think, I think that's going to decide this game probably is if the Niners can light things up or if the Panthers defense decides to show up. So yeah, I have no idea who to pick in this game, but I want to see the Panthers do it. I really do.
I'm with you.
If I have to make a pick, I'll take the Niners, but
I'm with you. Look, I want the Panthers to do well, man. I do. I really feel like every time I talk about Bryce Young, it's like borderline hater conversation. All I'm trying to do is ask him to play, consistent. That's all I'm asking. I don't want to see Bryce Young have the week that he had, break the franchise record, and then go back to 12 of 21, 117 yards and 2 picks, and they lose, 31-10 or 24-10 or whatever, and never really be in the game. So I just want to see consistency. I want to see the Panthers legitimately in this game. I think it is, people talk about moral victories, but to me, I think it's, and how irrelevant moral victories are, but I think it's really good for the Panthers based on where they are to legitimately be in this game with a winning record entering week 12, legitimately in the NFC South conversation. And by the way, obviously this game's on Monday night. Spoiler, I guess, for the next game, because we're doing Bucs Rams after this. I think the Rams are going to beat the Bucs. So there's a chance entering this game that, the Bucs right now are 6-4. You have every opportunity for the Carolina Panthers to step up, be 7-5, and have a half game lead over the Bucs, because they would be 6-5. You'd be 7-5 if you win this game. The opportunity, I would say, is going to be in front of you. How will you respond? I'm still going to choose the 49ers. I think they have a little too much firepower offensively, but I'm hoping the Panthers show up. I want this to be a close game, and I hope that Bryce Young gets the opportunity, because we know how many game-winning drives he has in his career. I hope he gets the opportunity at the end to step up and on prime time, give the Panthers an opportunity to show who they are. But if I had to choose, I am going to choose the 49ers to win.
Yeah, we see it very similarly. All right. Well, I guess we don't have to talk about the next game because you already spoiled it. So
well. This. I did have one super chat. It just says this is the first Monday Night Football game in 2 years for Carolina. Gotta think they show up. If they don't show up for this, then I mean, we're kind of back to square one. You cannot go out there and get beat by 15, 20 points and then expect like, oh, hey, we're still 6-6. We're in the playoff hunt and expect to be taken in a serious matter. And I think that part's fair.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
All right. Bucs Rams. First off, I have a bone to pick with just one thing about this. Did you see the Bucky Irving, Mike Florio thing? Did you see this? If you did not, I won't throw it.
Not with Florio. I've seen some chatter.
So Mike Florio was talking about this game with Chris Sims, and he said that, quote, "I'll tell you off air what I heard." And then he also said, "I want to be careful. It just underscores the very real existence of inside information, because it's something that probably shouldn't be out. But I don't think he's going to be back anytime soon. It definitely is more information than what's in the injury report," referring to Bucky Irving. That I can't stand that, if I'm being honest. Like that whole thing drives me up the wall. Bucky Irving is out for this game. And it's just the whole thing with that is it just drives me up the wall that we're going through this every single week and just things like that. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Bucs drop 3 straight. And they lost to the Patriots a couple of weeks ago. They lost last week to who was it? I'm blanking here. They lost last week to the Bills. It was the Patriots and Bills, back-to-back AFC East teams. They've now allowed 72 points in their last 2 games. I'm going to be honest, I don't trust Todd Bowles with in-game decisions. There's a belief that Todd Bowles is not a great head coach. He's kind of been an offensive coordinator merchant over the past couple of years with Dave Canales, with Liam Cohen. Quite frankly, I don't disagree with it, with what you see from his teams every single year and how they kind of underachieve, when it matters most. And it's a whole thing with the Bucs. I think they're going to be 6-5 after this game. And we saw them give up 44 points last week. They did not have, of course, Kalijah Cansey, who they haven't had for most of the season. They also didn't have Hassan Reddick, so that is definitely worth noting. But you're running into an unstoppable force here. The Rams enter this game 8th in offensive DVOA, 2nd in defensive DVOA. I really think that the Rams will be 11-2 entering their Week 15 game against the Lions, as obviously they play the Bucs this week, and then they play at Carolina next week, at Arizona the following week. The Rams right now are my Super Bowl pick. They won last week. You can certainly have the conversation that because they forced 4 turnovers, they probably should have won by more than 2 points. And I think that is a valid conversation, and I acknowledge that, but I don't think the Bucs are going to win this game. A lot of travel for the Bucs recently. They went to Buffalo. They come back home. They fly out to LA. I also think the Rams are a superior team to the Bucs. Give me LA 31-21.
I think I agree with everything you said, but I actually kind of have a gut feeling about Tampa this week. It's one of those deals where it's hard to explain. I think Baker's maybe due for one of those games. I don't think Baker's been like bad the last month. There's been some overthrows that didn't show up earlier in the year. I do think the Bucs have a pretty good chance at moving the ball pretty well. They played well against Buffalo last week, but they kept allowing big kick returns. I don't think that's going to happen again. It's just one of those fluky things. Yeah, I think it's going to come down to how Tampa's defense is able to strap down in this game. I mean, they have talent, but they've really underachieved in a lot of games. I think their pass rush has been underwhelming. The run defense hasn't been what we've gotten accustomed to. I guess with a long road trip coming off a really kind of like physical grunge match against the Seahawks, I could see Tampa more kind of, or never mind. Sorry, the Rams are at home. I'm sorry, I misread that there. But still, I think it applies coming off a physical team like Seattle. I think there's a little wear and tear factor, but I could see the Bucs on a primetime game kind of getting up for this one. I don't agree with the spread. I think this will be a good game with the Rams being covered by 6.5. But gosh, it is hard to pick against the Rams, but I'm going to do it. Screw it. It's been a weird season. I'm going to take the Bucs to kind of surprise. Everything is leaning against them right now, but I don't think they've played horrible. They've just had some really tough games as of late. So I'm going to go.
All right.
Go Bucs.
You said
don't feel great about it, obviously, but
you said very weird season, which leads us to the next game. Vikings Packers. First time they've played when Marcus and I have been doing the week previews. I will actually take a second before we get to this and ask if you are enjoying the stream, then please like my stream. Please like Marcus' stream. It helps both channels tremendously in terms of the almighty YouTube algorithm. So, all right, Marcus, I'll let you take it away because I have some things to say at the end.
There's, in the offseason, everyone is like, Justin Herbert is the if man.
If man, that drives me up the wall. Yes.
I think this is the if game for these two teams. There's just so many frustrating points on both these teams that it's like, if this team wakes up and does this, they have a chance. So here's all the ifs I wrote down. If the Packers defense shows up, McCarthy is in trouble. But if McCarthy just pins it on his receivers, hits the top of his drop, and just throws the football accurately, they can move the ball because this Packers secondary can't contest a pass to save their life. You watch that Giants game, it's like a bunch of bumbling clowns tripping over each other, trying to contest passes and convert interceptions. And that's been them all year. I have never seen a secondary with as bad of ball skills collectively as the Packers secondary. And there's a man named Justin Jefferson that plays for the Minnesota Vikings that's probably a little pissed off because he's coming off the worst game of his career last week that I witnessed in person. I don't know who that guy was. It wasn't Justin Jefferson last week. So yeah, I think if McCarthy just says, screw it, I'm going to throw the football to Justin Jefferson, I think the Vikings can move the ball in this game. And I was watching the Vikes with a good friend of mine a couple weeks ago, and he made a great point. It's like, when it's 3rd and 2, and you've made some good points about Kevin O'Connell's play calling this year too. Have they just thrown a slant to Justin Jefferson on 3rd and 2 all season long? Like, just do that. Like, that's how you beat the Packers defense. You just throw a slant. You throw an out route. So if Kevin O'Connell, who we think is this great coach, just does the thing, they have a chance, but they haven't been able to do that. I also think you have made some great points, and I certainly agree. Like, the Vikings can theoretically run the ball, but will they? Probably not. Like, I think they got away from the run game a little bit too much last week against the Bears. I think that's how you can attack the Packers. They should have an advantage, being able to smash the interior of this defense. But I don't know if they will. Let Aaron Jones cook. in a revenge game in Lambeau. I don't know if they will do that. And the last thing on the Packers side of things is if LaFleur can, I think last week did a pretty good job readjusting, opening up the passing game a little bit, being less predictable on first downs, but it's just one game. In a game that the Giants did take the lead early and maybe forced the Packers to throw the ball a little bit more. I don't want to see them come out with an injured Josh Jacobs and no Tucker Kraft and just have these predictable early down runs and be like scared to play a Brian Flores defense that I think realistically you can pass against if you just have the confidence to do it. But I don't know if the Packers passing game is going to be able to play with that confidence. Because LaFleur and the way he's kind of called this offense, they've played a lot of these games not to lose. I think that's hurt them a lot. And the last if is I don't know if the Packers receivers are going to be able to catch the football this week because their drop issues showed up big time last week. So a lot of ifs. I'll circle back to this. I want to hear what you have to say.
All right, there's two main things I have with the Vikings. Number one, JJ McCarthy's accuracy. The one play last week was one of the most frustrating misses I've seen from a quarterback in the past couple of years, just because, I mean, the ball was like 7 feet over Justin Jefferson's head. The ball was down the one sideline. It was on the speed out route. It was a really bad miss. The other concern I have is I know the Packers, you just mentioned the drops with the receivers. Right now, we have like 3 active corners on our roster. We waived corner Dwight McGlothern this week to make room for center Ryan Kelly. So, I mean, obviously football is a very violent game. Obviously, if we have a corner go down, it could get really ugly really quick. Now, the full reason, by the way, that I wore black today, this is the Packers' playoff chances funeral. Let's just call this what it is. 9 is going in. We're underdogs. We're comfortable being underdogs. The last time we lost in Lambeau, 2022, in a game that was the Jair Alexander shutdown Justin Jefferson game. Look, first off, that should have been defensive pass interference. Then he grittied right in his face. Should have been taunting. I would question as a Vikings fan, this is not like the football analyst. This is me questioning as a Vikings fan, whether or not you're going to get that call at Lambeau. That's another question. And by the way, I also acknowledge in 2018, the Vikings were blessed big time with the Clay Matthews roughing the passer call. But look, this game, this gets the juices flowing, man. I'm really revved up talking about it. This is a game where obviously we're not making a decision on JJ McCarthy's future based on this game alone, but we have what I would say is a final 7-game portion of the season. If JJ continues to play like this, which has undoubtedly been bottom 5 in the NFL, at least from a game-to-game basis, he'll have a drive here where he plays like a top 12 quarterback, and then the rest of the game he'll play at a 35th best quarterback in the NFL level. We got to see some consistency. This is a game where you can undoubtedly win back the fan base. I need to see something instead of balls going 10 feet over a guy's head. I need to see some arc on passes rather than these just bullets, these darts the entire time. Look, right now we're 6.5-point dogs, and you know what they say: hungry dogs run faster. You're going to be 6-4-1. We're going in. We're winning. Aaron Jones revenge game. I'm revved up. Packers playoff chances funeral. That's why we're wearing black. Skull.
They were really comfortable being underdogs in that game against the Ravens a couple weeks ago, weren't they?
We haven't lost to Lambeau in 3 years. It's not. Look, JJ McCarthy goes to Chicago, game 1, wins. Goes to Detroit, first start in Detroit, wins. He's got to look. Here comes the Infinity Stone, the biggest, baddest of them all.
I'm letting you go, but
look, that's the Vikings fan talking.
JJ McCarthy. We got to have an honest conversation. He looks so bad.
I'm scared. I'm very scared.
He looks like Zach Wilson bad.
No, I agree. 100%.
I was watching that game live, and my jaw was dropping.
Yeah.
We haven't seen a young quarterback come into the league and look this lost, like he can't hit a throw. Even in moments, he's had like good pocket presence. He couldn't feel the rush at all this week.
Right.
It was a disaster. And yes, the one good thing you can say about him is what I've been saying since week 1. If he's a bust, it's not going to be for a lack of confidence or a lack of a clutch factor. Like, he's got that. That's great. But even in this game, like, he has the game-winning drive, and it was great. It was good to see that and all that. It's not a very good Bears defense, in my opinion.
No, not at all.
The only reason that game was close is because of the turnovers and the egregious decisions as well, and the overthrows on third downs. Like McCarthy, like JJ McCarthy alone, not the play calling, not the receivers, nothing else. Bad. There was probably 5 drives that he just was the reason that they weren't able to keep going. So, and I pointed out that Ravens game. I thought there was a lot of similar moments in that game. It wasn't quite as big of a disaster, but it's very hard to imagine, despite all the Packers issues that have been frustrations this year, there's still a 6-3-1 team and a defense that has had a lot more suffocating performances than weeks like last week, where it's a revved up Giants team kind of just playing ball control offense. There's still really no reason to believe that the Packers should lose this game.
I agree. Unfortunately.
Now, I totally agree. I've totally come around with because after the first 3 weeks, I was like, Packers are Super Bowl contenders. They look incredible. The Browns game was just kind of this weird fluky game where they were the better team for 58 minutes and then fell apart. And then it took me a while to kind of listen to what people were saying and be like, no, this team is super flawed. They're inconsistent. They played out in the competition. I totally agree. Like, they are a very frustrating team. They are hard to trust right now. So this could totally be another game. They've given us plenty of evidence at this point that they lose to the Panthers. They lose to the Browns. They easily could have lost to the Giants last week, by the way. They outplayed them down to down, but they leave a bunch of third down drops, and they have 4 dropped interceptions in that game. Again, the inability of this secondary to make plays is hilarious. And I don't think that changes this week against this receiving group. So it's hard for me to want to bet the Packers this week when they keep playing down. And I think some of the comments this week are already scaring me that this could be a Packers stinker. Josh Jacobs is like, yeah, I might play, but I'm definitely playing against Detroit on Thanksgiving. They're talking about Jaden Reed didn't practice till yesterday, but hopefully on Monday he's going to practice and get ready for that. Like, I already think this team is looking ahead for that Lions game. And I can just picture it, that they just get punched in the teeth, and Jordan Love is like maybe a little bit kind of not as sharp as he can be at times. I can totally imagine the boneheaded Jordan Love moment that flips this game. We saw maybe the ugliest Jordan Love play, I think, was against the Vikings, right? The Will Levis esque, like, getting sacked in the end zone, and he like heaved it up. Wasn't that against the Vikings?
That was against the Rams last year. That was against the Rams.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it was at SoFi because it was a pick 6. It was like a 9-yard pick 6.
Oh, I thought for sure that was against the Vikings.
I'd welcome that this week, though. Harrison Smith's final start at Lambeau. I'd welcome it.
Yeah. On paper, there's no reason the Packers should lose this game. The last note I had.
That's why they play the games.
This is the first. That's why they play the games. That's right. This is the first time since week 3 that the Packers will have their entire D-line healthy, and I'm excited to see that. Lucas Van Ness looked really good out the gate. I thought, with all the Micah Parsons talk, them also hitting a green light on their 13th overall pick that was a hyper freak athlete that was always going to be a little bit slow to come along. It looked like they were also really hitting a green light with him. And he's been out for like 2 months. So he's supposed to be back this week. I think that could help this team get back to a lot of the dominance that we've seen just a week ago against Philly. So I'm going to pick the Packers. I'm not betting the Packers this week. I can totally picture the upset happening and how it would happen. Also, special teams. Again, I continue to just point out 2 missed PATs last week. Yes, in a windy game, but Packers special teams is talk about a clown show. So a lot going on in this one, but taking the Packers to win, not super confident in it.
How scared are you if it's 24-20, 2017, we'll say, final drive, 2 minutes left, 9 gets the ball?
That's a situation despite all the clutch stuff, I trust the Packers defense in that situation.
Get ready. For all the Clippers out there, get ready. We're coming.
I'm scared of the game script of Vikings get up early, Packers start to scramble and panic a little bit. Like, oh my God, it's happening again. We're going to lose the game that we're supposed to win. That's the game script I'm worried about. I think you watched last week, the Cardinals game. when they're able to get the lead with like 4 minutes left, I do trust this defense to be able to step up and Parsons to have that moment in that situation.
3 in a row. We haven't lost to Lambeau since 2022. And it's, I mean, I'm just saying JJ's won on the road each of the first 2 division games. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's going to be pretty. I'm not saying it's going to be pretty. But
did you make your official pick?
I can't bet against my guys. I look. The analyst in me says 100% that like we shouldn't win this game, and I acknowledge that. But I'm not. I don't know how I want to word this. Like, I would not pick us to win this game, but I'm not trying to be Adam Rank with the Bears here. I do think the Packers are going to win, but Sunday at 1:00, then I'm going to say, like, look, we're going in the Lambeau. We're walking in your trap, taking over your trap for the 3rd straight year. But in a realistic sense, I do think the Packers are going to win.
Yeah. Just wait till next year when we start keeping track of our records, because then you actually have to make the analyst pick.
That's fine. Hey, look, I do think the Packers are going to win, but again, Sunday at 1:00, 12:00 Central, we'll be ready. I'll be running through a brick wall. We'll be ready. Packers, look, we're blocked today for the Packers playoff chances funeral. So it's look, that's and also by the way, shout out to Bow top 5 state, undoubtedly top 5 state. I'll just leave it at that.
JC in the chat nailed it. He says, I think what you want to say is I'd rather die than pick the Packers.
He's not wrong. Yeah, he's not wrong. I mean, I do think they are going to win in all seriousness. But like I said, Sunday, 1:00, you get revved up. You watch a couple hype videos, I'll be ready.
Watch some Minneapolis Miracle highlights.
Of course. Yep. I mean, look, watch 2022 Justin Jefferson week 1. He had 158 yards in the first half. Yeah. Fun day.
Yeah. Yep.
All
right. I do a quick plug. I will have my final division for studs and duds later tonight. Just for those, I've seen some people asking in the comments when it's coming. So it is coming. It will be probably like a 7 or 8 o'clock Central Time drop, to be honest. So I just getting that out there for you guys.
All right. Sounds good. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the stream today. And like I said, if you did, please like. Stream helps tremendously with the YouTube algorithm. And have a good week of football ahead. And until next time, as always, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.